I need new music.
This is the JJO Discover New Music Podcast.
Welcome once again to another edition of Discover New Music, and excited to have a Discover New Music alum. Yeah, we've chatted to this fella quite a few times because you know what? He keeps putting out kick-ass music with his bandmates. Joining me, Spencer from Underoath. How are you, my friend?
What's up, man? I'm good. Thanks for having me, man.
It's always a pleasure. Reminiscing, of course, before we got everything kicked off, about days past and other music projects, and being in this industry for a long time, you get to know people and run into them a lot and all different places. And I'm just excited for this next kind of chapter in the Underoath story as we look at the latest album. It just dropped, so I know you guys probably have that new record tinglings now after all the work's done and the next part begins. Yeah. The place after this one dropped on the 28th, and I will tell you, I am pretty jacked up because I was listening to the album while I was working on questions, and I was on your official YouTube page, the band's official YouTube page, and I got to share this comment. I don't know if you've gotten over there yet, but the first comment on there was at Grumpy Old Man said, "Wake up, neighbors, new Underoath album," which this album wakes you up. It's intense, Spencer.
It is. It's very intense. I think, you know, the main goal when we were working on this record was, you know, I feel like Underoath's at a point of our career where we've survived the being boys, becoming men, out in growing up in public, imploding in public. You know, all the growing pains bands don't make it through, and then like a lot of bands don't make it past their first success, or the ups and downs of being in a band. I kind of compared to like riding the wave. You know, not every time do you make it to shore, not every time do you even fucking stand up, and a lot of times you bail out, you know, and if you can't ride the wave, get out of the ocean, right? So Underoath has kind of survived all that stuff, and we're at a point now where it's not like it was when we were kids, where you had to make a record every 2 years, you had to tour the whole time, or you'd be forgotten. I think Underoath's worked for 20 years. You know, I started in 2003 with this.
Yep.
And we're to the point now where we have a loyal fan base to where we don't need to make new music right now unless we have something to say and a point to prove. And I think with this record, I had a lot to say, and I think we were searching for the feeling that heavy music gave us when, you know, before all this blew up, before it became more mainstream, before there was streaming, before all that, like there was a vibe that the underground heavy music scene gave you that I can't even describe in words. And it's not a guitar tone, it's not a lyric, it's not a breakdown, it's not any of that. It's a feeling that you search for, and that was the goal of the record. Is like, I just want to feel it. You know, I wanted to. What is that feeling? That tension, the tension and release. It's almost like a really good thriller or a horror movie when you get the feeling. And it's not because it's gory. It's not because it's. There's just a feeling of like anxiety, tension, and then a boom, a huge release, and it's a rush. You know, and I think heavy music got watered down for a really long time. Maybe because it saw more of a mainstream light, maybe because more people were listening, or maybe there's just more bands, so there's more to flip through with streaming and it becoming so popular. You got more stuff to flip through that might not be your taste, I guess, which is a good thing and a bad thing. I love that it's not just gate kept and underground, you know. It's
right.
You know, like, but at the same time, it comes with its downfalls, which means like I'm flipping through a lot of the same kind of sound that I'm not looking for. So really the goal was like, what do I want to hear? When you get in the car, like, what is that? Let's make that. And there's no answer to that other than like getting in the studio and getting your hands dirty. And that by that, I mean, like, we're very hands-on. Like Aaron just gets behind the kit and starts playing, and guitars get turned on, and we're just kind of like garage banding until we get a vibe, and then we start putting it all together. So yeah, I think it was a fun time in the studio this time, unlike the past that maybe wasn't so fun.
Well, you said a couple things in that I want to touch on. First, just as a mental note for me, 2003. But it's something in there. You said that feeling and what I want to hear. And so, not to put words in your mouth, but maybe what I would gather from that is, obviously this is for the fans, but maybe it didn't feel as forced as a sense of, I want to write what the fans, I think the fans want to hear. I'm going to write what I want to hear. And I hope that translates and grabs that feeling that we got before.
I'm going to tell you something. Anyone in a band, my advice, don't ever write what you think the fans want to hear. And that's not a diss to your fans. That's, even me, I'm a fan. So let's not mistake that. Like, I'm a music fan too. I have bands that I love. I have bands that I'm obsessed with and want to hear more from, and this, that, and the other. So don't forget that that's, first and foremost.
Yeah.
So I'm not just speaking like I'm above all this. So I think, some of my favorite bands, and as far as the heavy genre goes, 9 Inch Nails, and Deftones, like bands like, that I grew up loving and still love to this day. And Tool, I did not want Fear Inoculum. I waited so long and I was so confused when it came out until I got it.
Yeah.
And one day it clicked, and it's now become one of my top 2 favorite Tool records. Because I am a fan, and if I would have had it my way, I would have picked something else. But then that's not true to the artist, which is Tool.
Yeah.
Sometimes 9 Inch Nails makes decisions and makes like a super electronic record that I'm like, that one's not for me. That doesn't keep me from going to a show. And then sure enough, 2 or 3 years later, they put out a more hard rock record that makes every hair on my body stand up. I think when you're trying to appease the fans is when you really mess up. I think that if you don't make what makes you happy, if we want to talk about music as a product, which I know is a nasty thing to say, but like, if you don't believe in what you're making, how do you sell it?
Yeah.
And music isn't about selling, but if we're talking about a band being a vibe and being on stage, being on tour, away from your family, away from your loved ones, your wife, your kids, whatever it may be, your best friends, your mom, your dad, whatever it is that you miss, getting up on stage and playing music that you're not thrilled about there's nothing worse.
Right.
So I like to kind of put out there as any artist, do what you love, And if you love the same fucking, sorry, I don't know if I can cuss on this.
You're fine.
If you love the same freaking breakdown every record, then I guess that's what you do.
Yeah.
But for Underoath, it's we wouldn't be happy making the same thing twice. And I know I've got a bunch of different people in this band. There's 4 cooks in the kitchen. It's like me and Tim and Aaron and Chris all write. We all don't agree on everything. To get us all on the same page is all I care about.
Yeah.
When I make Underoath music, I'm looking around the room. I know my fans are going to be there, but I also know no matter what I do, I piss somebody off.
Yeah.
And I can't care about that or look at it or read it or, like lose sleep over it. It's like, that's the internet nowadays. That's just how people are. That's what they love to do. They love to hate. So don't buy into that noise. So what I do is, if I look around the room and Tim is, and Chris is fucking, and Aaron is like, I'm like, okay, the song is done, right?
Yeah.
And I'm looking around the room and they're like, we're not there yet. So for me, it's literally making something that I want to hear, that also my band wants to hear. And that's a whole other thing in itself to unpack, is that if I had it my way, the song would sound all the way like this. If Tim had it his way, it would sound like this. If Aaron had it his way, it would sound like this. Chris had it this way, it would sound like this. But somewhere way over here, where we all like, oh man, that's not the part that I want there. I hate that. And then when I let go and listen a little bit, I'm like, actually, that's better than my idea for the bridge. Now I'm like, where I thought we were going is going this way, but it's even better. So getting us all on the same page and getting us there is everything. And all I care about at this point in my career with Underoath is that, are we making something that makes us happy? And normally when that's the case, think about bands' first successes and the stuff that fans get so attached to, or they miss their old stuff, or it's like, you didn't know what you wanted back then, and the fans didn't have an idea what they wanted. So why buy into it now? Why try to appease the listener now? I think it's a mistake. I think when none of us knew we needed Smells Like Teen Spirit when it came out and changed the world. Everyone was expecting more Guns N' Roses and more Poison and more Motley Crue. That's what everyone wanted. That's where the scene was. And grunge came through. Not saying it was just Nirvana, but there was a group of bands that came through, did what they wanted to do, and changed the world, right? The same thing kind of happened with nu metal, and the same thing kind of happened with the metalcore, whatever you call the scene now. I think trying to do what people want is where you really fuck up. So if you're an artist and you believe in what you're doing at all, just lean all the way into it and really try to scratch your itches that you're looking for. And then at least the art is honest. So I think honesty catches on. And I think even if you piss a bunch of people off at first, it will find its audience. If you're staying true to yourself, there's an audience for that. And that's why I think you can look at bands like the Deftones and Nine Inch Nails that I quoted earlier, and they have a wave in their life, in their career. If you really zoom out, their career is still going up, right? But there's times where they've been playing arenas and amphitheaters, and there's other times where they're playing venues, and it's just up and down, and they grow, and crowds come and go. Some people stay forever, some people move on, and some new faces show up. And you just have to be able to roll with those punches, and and the only way to do that is to make music that makes you happy and makes you stoked with your friends, because you're the ones out there playing it, and there's nothing worse than getting up there and doing something you don't believe in. So
that was an amazing answer, and it's always fun talking music to you because I know you're such a music fan and looking at it that way. And I'm glad that the band got to a place where you were all happy with each other, and now we have the place after this one out there, and I know fans are going to dig it. As I mentioned, I was listening to it while I was getting ready for this, and God, it's a heavy album. It's a fun album, and it's out now. We still got a lot more to talk about. One more thing I wanted to touch on, because you said 2003, obviously when you got with the band, which we are well past the 20-year mark on that. Right. Does that settle in with you? Is there times where you say it, you're like, holy Jesus, has it been 23 years?
It's crazy to think about, but at the same time, we're on tour right now with Papa Roach. Those guys are 10 years older than us. And I'm looking at those guys. I'm inspired by it because they, like I was talking about that wave earlier, they're peaking right now, and like when you ask someone that maybe isn't a fan of hard rock, Papa Roach, and they'll talk about Last Resort, like, and cut my life into pieces, that's what everyone will say. But it's funny thing enough, it's like, their career has just been on an upward trajectory, and it's still growing. And we're on tour with them right now, and they're talking about these are the biggest venues they've ever played. And they've got a song, like they've just continued to ride the wave and be unforgivingly Papa Roach. They've always been themselves. And even when that music wasn't considered cool, there was a time where people were like anti-nu metal or whatever you want to call that.
Yeah.
And they rode the wave and stayed true to themselves, kept making music, and here they are on top again as they're approaching 50 years old, and like better than they've ever been. They're happy, they're healthy, they're a killer live band, and they're so much fun to tour with, and we're honored to be out here to play in front of new fans, even 20, and we're 20 years in, so they've got 10 years on us or more, and they're just crushing. It's inspiring to see, because I think when we started this thing, with your question about can you believe it's been 20 years, is when we started this thing, there was a real like, I don't know if the word is ageism, but there was a very like stark kind of overlaying gloomy cloud that hovered over your career, which was after you're 30, no one wants you anymore. You better be 18 to 27 and you better get it now. And if you don't, you better have a backup plan, you know, and seeing these bands like the Deftones, bringing them up again on the biggest tour maybe they've done in a long time. I'm watching this from the internet, being a mega fan, being, you know, having extreme FOMO, but watching these shows, and I mean, like, they're playing sold out arenas. It's crazy. And so it's inspiring to see that these bands are growing still. Because I think in our scene, it was very much like, oh, after the World Tour era, no one's going to grow anymore. And it is what it is, you know. And I think now you're seeing bands continuously growing. Yeah. And the music scene's growing. Live music feels like it's growing. People want to see bands that know how to play, you know, again. And I think guitars are coming back and people want to see a live band, not just a bunch of tracks on a laptop, you know, with a band kind of faking over their top. I think all that stuff is very inspiring to me. And just being out here with Papa Roach right now, just going like, wow, like, we're not, you know what I mean? You're not like, and I guess it's an anomaly in a way that most bands can't stay together that long, but like seeing bands older than us still growing is very inspiring. You know, like, you're just like, damn, man, like, we have a lot of work to do still. We're not like, we're not going to just tread water for the rest of our career. We have, there's a lot of room to continue to expand and do new things, which is exciting.
Well, that's good. I'll ask you that same question 10 years from now when we're at the 30-year mark. That's what we'll do right there. So,
dude, I'm ready. Let's go.
Let's talk more on the new record, The Place After This One. Again, it's out now. It's heavy. It's in your face. It's great. You got a lot of great tracks on there that people I know will kind of dissect and pick apart. But I want to ask you, from the guy who's obviously very close to it, is there any, and I finally got a way to ask this question. This was when I just did an interview, and of course I'm drawing a blank on who said it, but anyway, is there any eyebrow raising moments on the record? And what I mean by that, is there anything that makes a fan go, oh, I didn't expect that? Any eyebrow raisers?
I think so. I mean, I think the record flows as a whole. I like to look at it from track 1 through 12, you know, like, I think it's a push play and let it go. But I think the song Teeth is very out there, and the single All the Love Is Gone it's the single that they've been pushing to, you know, stations, and we've been getting a lot of support behind, is not a traditional structured song, which makes me excited that people are into weird right now, and people want to hear songs that aren't necessarily, you know, I at least for me, you know, being a music lover and a listener, like, I don't want to hear a song that could be on the country station that you just put more distortion on and take the twang out of your voice, and it's the same, you know, like, powerful big chorus. And I'm not dogging country or anyone. Like, I'm kind of like, when it comes to like hard rock and stuff, like, I want to feel like that excitement. Like, remember when you were a kid and you first heard Linkin Park, it blew your mind. The first time you heard Slipknot, it blew your mind. The first time you heard Deftones, it blew your mind. First time you heard System of a Down, it blew your mind. Like, and then it got really safe. So I think it's exciting right now that mainstream radio and rock music has embraced some of the stranger things in music. Like, I mean, look at Falling in Reverse, whether you're a fan or not, it's out there and it's different. Yeah. And props to that, because it's not your traditional verse chorus, you know, easy to digest radio rock. Because radio rock, no offense, has gotten a really bad name as well at different times, and since I've been doing this, you know. And it's exciting to see that bands are pushing boundaries and being accepted.
Yeah.
You know, it makes it a lot more fun, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Take a little chances, especially at the level of your guys' career. You have that flexibility, that kind of the bargaining power to do that and expand on the sound and take chances that may not have been able to be done. And that comes with age and experience and everything like that.
Yeah.
Another track I want to talk about was Vultures. You got a special guest on that one, Troy Sanders, Mastodon. How'd you guys get hooked up with him? I know that's a big player to have on there to get in on that track.
You know, Troy, I met Troy in 2008. We were on tour together, and, you know, that's another guy. He's like about 10 years older than I am. And he kind of like, I've had some ups and downs in my life, some pretty rough struggles. And Troy was like a big brother to me, you know, like he's someone that I consider a dear friend. One of those people that we could talk every day. I could not hear from him for a month or 3. And it's not that like, what the fuck, like this dude isn't cool. Like, why don't I, you know, it's one of those guys that like, we just always pick up right where we left off, and it's nothing but love. And like, for both of us, like we just, you know, he was an Atlanta dude. We made like 3 or 4 records in Atlanta in our career, and they just happened to always be home when we were making a record. He's been a dear friend on and off tour. Like we spent time together off tour, like hanging out and being friends, and, you know, just someone that I look up to and I love like a brother, you know. And I don't know why I've never thought about having him on a song in the past. And it was funny because when we were writing Vultures, me and Aaron were alone in Nashville writing that song in a studio, and like when it came to the bridge, I was like, oh, I'm gonna like, it's like I called it the Mastodon part, you know. It's like, you know, it's got this, and I was like kind of on the demo, I sang the vocal that Troy sings, and I was like very much channeling that like Troy, kind of like more of a manly voice. You know, my voice is kind of high and like softer than his, I guess, when it comes to singing. And he's got this like manly, like grit to it.
Yeah.
And I was channeling that, and we called that part the Mastodon part. So when it came to doing the actual record, you know, we were like, you know, features are a thing that have kind of been overplayed in my opinion, because it's like a Spotify game and everyone's trying to reach more people, and I get it. And collaborating is cool. I like collaborating. I think it's fun. I think you can always learn something and expand new boundaries. But we were like, I don't know if I want to have a record full of features. Like, the record's done and it sounds great, but this part would sound so much cooler if the Mastodon part was actually done by Mastodon. So I just called Troy on the phone, and I hadn't heard from him since, maybe in a couple of months. You know, we always check in with each other, and we got on the phone and we're just talking about life. And literally the whole point of me getting on the phone was to ask him about this thing. We talked for an hour before I even remembered to talk about music. And then I just was like, hey man, you know, I told him that story. Like, hey, I was like channeling you when I wrote this part, and if you're into it, I'd love to have you on it. If not, I will not be offended, because I know it's not for everyone to feature on other people's records. And like, Mastodon's like a cult following cool band, you know, and maybe some of their friends don't think we're so cool. So I'd understand if he said no, you know. And he heard the song and loved it, and was like, yeah, I'm doing it. And he was, you know, and I'm really hoping that one of these festivals in the near future, we play the same day as Mastodon, because they do a lot of the same festivals as us. So I want to get them up there, bring them out and sing that song together. It'd be fucking cool.
That'll be a treat for whoever's there. I hope it's that one that I'm at, because that's what we want to see. Well, another little treat on the record for everyone. Again, the place after this one, From Underoath, is out now. I ask everyone this, and because we've talked a lot of tracks here, so I'm interested to see which way this will go. Do you have a favorite track on the album, or a track that really speaks to you?
And like I said, it's a record play for me. Like, you pick play at the top, and like I feel like it's like Define the Great Line in that way. Like that was a record that you needed to kind of go from one to the end. Like, and I really feel that way about this record.
Yeah.
And it's really fun to play live, and I think it's there's not a song for me that I like more than another one. Like I love these songs, and I'm just happy that people finally get a chance to hear it, and I beg for them to listen to it. I think as listeners, a lot of us go in with closed minds or with our expectations set in a different direction. And people can't open their ears, and it's really hard to do that when you're a band. It's like, do people go into hearing a new Metallica album with open ears? No, they go in with a Metallica filter thinking, if it's not the Metallica that I love, I'm going to be pissed, And I try to beg people to listen, Yeah. Because I've been guilty of that myself. Like I was telling you about that Tool thing. Like I was like pretty mad for a couple of days. And then when it clicked with me though, I had like an out of body experience. Like I felt like I was high, and I felt like I was crying. I was laughing. I was headbanging. I had a full experience, So.
Well, you'll get that with this one, I'm sure. And like I said, if you're going to listen to Spencer Says with open ears, just know they will be ringing for quite some time after if you listen to it loud like you should. And according to Grumpy Old Man on YouTube, you're going to wake the neighbors up. Very exciting. It's always awesome talking music with you. And again, you're such a music nut, and you have such a passion for it that it's always fun to kind of dig into your brain a little bit. And of course, now with this new record that we get from Underoath that is out now, we're all in for a treat. We all are lucky to have it. So Spencer, I really appreciate it, man. I really do. Now that the important stuff is out of the way, can we do rapid fire and do some goofy shit for a little bit?
Yeah.
I got some new ones for you. I know we've done this before. I think last time we did this, it was during the pandemic and you were inside your house. And so I got some fresh ones.
Okay.
Simple. Sneakers or sandals? We'll start with that one.
Sneakers.
Billy Ocean or Billy Idol? I'm glad that this is a thinker. I'm glad that this is a thinker for you.
I don't know. Idol?
Good. Just going for it, maybe?
Maybe. Yeah.
Let's see. New England clam chowder or a creamy tomato bisque?
Tomato bisque.
Very nice. Quick one on that with a fancy grilled cheese. That's what I like to have with mine.
Ooh, yeah. Boy.
A sharp cheddar on some thick white bread. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Would you rather take a Chuck Norris roundhouse at 100% power or a Mike Tyson punch at 50% power?
Chuck Norris, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, now, Mike Tyson, when he did that fight this past year, and I was watching like just old clips, and even watching him preparing for the fight, even though the fight wasn't good. Yeah. Watching him prepare, I was like, dude,
he's a pit bull. Dude, that guy's that is a pit bull, man. It's
I don't want to take a hit from that guy. Nope.
Yeah. I'll take the roundhouse, Chuck Norris, cowboy boot, action jeans right to the face. You'll be all right.
Yeah.
You'll be all right.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, hey, thanks for humoring me. More importantly, thanks for talking to music again. It's always so much fun talking to you, and I know we could go for hours just on music and everything, but the new album, Underoath, the place after this one, it's out now. You guys are out and about, and hopefully we'll see you with Mastodon guest appearance on stage at a festival. I think that's the goal.
Yeah. I mean, that's if any festival we're playing on the same day, you can expect it for sure.
Beautiful, beautiful. Spencer, thanks, brother. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you, man.
Listen, rate, share, subscribe. Discover new music now at WJJO.com, in the JJO app, or wherever you get your podcasts. Brock has a new interview every Thursday evening between 6 and 7. 94.1 JJO.